Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik, and we still on the cusp of figuring out things from Media Day and working to figure out what exactly we can look forward to when the team prepares for preseason and the season going forward. Just as a recap for yesterday, if you didn't know, Cedric Howard is a full go right now in training camp. Jaren and Zach Edey will both be out for the start of the season. Edey should be back in a quicker time frame than originally planned. Jaren, on the other hand, will be out a little longer than expected, and Brandon Clark as well because he is undergoing another procedure. So that's just basically the recap on that. Injury wise, I know we've been waiting on that for a bit in case anybody missed yesterday. So one of the things that from Media Day was a big emphasis, and I'm sure it was a main emphasis that I also pointed out beforehand, and clearly the team has as well. But basically, the guys like Jaren Jackson and John Morant both talked about fully participating throughout the NBA season and staying on top of their health, and even Ja going on Ja just saying on a personal note he wants to play 82 games this year. That's a personal goal for him, and I said that that's possible. That's possible. It's just I think with his play style at this point and with the injuries that have kind of piled up for him, you may have to slightly switch up your game and how much he's tempted to drive to the basket. Although most of Ja's injuries can come from mostly anything. I mean, if we're being honest, they come from anything, but it also comes from trying to just go for the highlight and just not landing right, things like that. So that's something that I think could be changed. Now, as far as Jaren, I can't really say for the simple fact that Jaren, for the most part, has done a good job with his health. He's done fairly good, so I can't really say anything about him. The only thing, obviously, with Jaren that we'd like to see is more rebounding, and less foul trouble, which is something that he said he has been working on, um, working on over the off season. So that's a good sign to hear from him at least, because Jaren, like I said, has the capability to become an All NBA type player. It's just those little things that hold him back. So you really got to look out for that when it comes to Jaren. But to see him constantly work on it, it means that he's trying to improve. Now, hopefully, we can see that improvement pay off in the long run, and actually, combine it with John Morant's play style and the fact that you have Jaren's availability. We got some good things to look forward to. And honestly, if we're being real, it was a lot of things that there's a lot of things from Media Day that I absolutely just looked at and I was like, okay, this makes me very happy for the season. So, if you want a full recap of Media Day, I really suggest you watch yesterday's episode 83, I believe. I don't know. But basically, yesterday's episode, you'll see it from what we already talked about. But switching gears, let's talk about Tuan Zizalo. He had a lot to say, and I am pretty happy with what he said. He gave us extra reassurance in what the coaching staff will do, their roles on the team, things of that nature. Another thing that he also pointed out was the fact that he he essentially clarified that I have it pulled up right here. He made it clear that the Grizzlies will play with a ton of pace. For a long time, the thought was teams like that couldn't defend well enough to win it all. But after watching teams like the Indiana Pacers make the NBA Finals in the run that they made, we definitely saw that it's definitely possible. Now, keeping it up for the length that they did, that takes a lot of work, and clearly it had been going on throughout the entire season. We just haven't been looking at it because the coverage on the Pacers wasn't really all that good. So it's really something to look out for, and hopefully the same kind of goes for the Grizzlies. So I kind of like the idea of running with a ton of pace. I think it's just a matter of doing it right. Obviously, when it comes to a ton of pace, you have to watch out for the effect of ball security and keep making sure the turnovers are low, because the Grizzlies averaged a lot of turnovers the past few years, especially last year. So that's something that you really have to work on. It's just something that it's really just something that you kind of have to see play out before anything, because it's easier said than done. We can say that we've watched fast-paced basketball, but at the same time, there's a risk and reward to it. We saw more of the risk than the actual reward, if we're being honest. The one that leads you not winning games. So Isolo, I like where his mind's at. He also said a line that I thought was pretty cool. He also said something along the lines of, I feel like in the 2030s, the game from today should look slow. Now, that's something that kind of gives me a little hope because that means that he's going to make sure this is implemented into the system for a long time. And if it works out well, then hopefully we have Isolo around for a long time. And hopefully it leads to more results than when they did with Taylor Jenkins. Because as grateful we are at the time with Taylor Jenkins, we also have to remember they only made it to the second round one time. So we also have to remember that. But we also have to remember what the team was before Taylor Jenkins. And I forever give him my props. But now it's now we're living in a time where, we could see positive results. Now, somebody else that I think I could see positive results from, and I didn't really think about it until beforehand, Jock Landale. And I know when I first said Jock Landale, I said I really didn't know what he would bring. But one of the things that really catching my mind recently, and I'm kind of just going off the dome right now, so bear with me. Jock Landale has a real opportunity to essentially find a home in Memphis. You have to think about it this way. Jay Huff is traded. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be out for the beginning of the year. Zach Edey, same case. Brandon Clark, same case. It's just Jock Landale and Santi Aldama. And when it comes to that starting lineup, projected-wise, but we know Jock Landale is going to be starting. So it's just something you would look at as like, okay, what does Jock Landale look like with a starting role? And, I mean, looking at his numbers over the course of years, he has the possibility to be a reliable player. I'm not going to say he's going to be like a great player, but he has the possibility to be a reliable player. I mean, I'm looking at the guy's stats. He's always shot efficiently from the field, even threw in some three-pointers in the mix. He doesn't shoot a lot of them, but, he also hasn't played a whole lot of minutes. I mean, most minutes he played was back when he played in Phoenix. That was about 15 minutes a game. So you also have to keep that in mind. Fairly solid free throw shooter. For the time he's played, decent rebounder and solid when it comes to protecting the paint. So you have to keep that in mind. There's a possibility that with the time that he's given and his ability to do all of these simple things, well, not simple things, but all these different things that can help the team, especially at a fast-paced team like the Grizzlies, I think it's possible that we could see Jock Landale essentially find a home here. I mean, we were looking at this as like a short-term deal, with the idea that all these guys, once these guys come back, he's going to just kind of fall back. But with these new developments, especially with Brandon Clark's injury history, you have more skepticism in that role. So I think when it comes down to it, the team could potentially have a point where Jock Landale is leaned on when it comes to the bench. As a bench unit, he could be the person they lean upon. And then you have him competing with guys like P.J. Hall, who's probably going to get PT now. So you really have that in mind. The Grizzlies could find a center for their bench consistently, and if it stays that way, we could see a difference in lineups than what we originally planned. At least I originally planned. Got to be honest, I didn't have Jock Landale really being on this team that long, if I'm being real. But that might change. I wouldn't be surprised after this 1 year deal. They decide, hey, we might as well keep you around. It just depends on the direction that the Grizzlies are moving. So that's something I would say, if it happens, I wouldn't be surprised by it. Now, things that I don't look to be surprised by, aka things I'm looking out for in preseason. So I don't know 100% because they didn't really they didn't need to clarify, or I just looked over it and didn't read it. But from what I got, I don't think Cedric Coward is playing in preseason. If he is, great. If he is playing, well, I'll speak in the sense that he is playing. If he is playing, let me know. I probably overlooked it. But in the case that he is playing, the things I want to look out for is, how does his defense look? Is it up to the standard that the guys on the team have been talking about? Because they've been talking very good about his defense. How does his movement off the ball look? How does his movement look with the ball? How is his communication on the court? How does he feel on an NBA court? Because we've yet to see that. So that's one thing I'm looking out for. Another thing I'm looking out for is, what can the others do? I'm looking at what the others can do in regards of guys like Cam Spencer, Scottie Pippen Jr., KCP, Even Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams, and I've talked about those. I talked about Gigi Jackson and Vince. This year will determine a lot for them going forward as a Memphis Grizzly. Not saying that it's going to be like a make or break time for them, but it's going to determine a lot of as far as what are the next steps for the team going forward. So that's something I'm also looking out for the others. And I would say the last thing I'm looking out for is how can these guys handle the system? Because we're going to see the system in game one against Detroit for the preseason. We're going to see that. So how well can we translate that from training camp to the NBA court? Yes, it's preseason, but this is also a time to where we can see it in action. And I'm really excited to see how this looks. I want to see how clean it looks more than anything. Because like I said, if this is a system that leads to a bunch of turnovers, you got to go back to the drawing board and fix something. Simple as that. And also, how well can the others help Ja Morant? I know, obviously, with centers, they got their pick and rolls, they got the screen setters, all of these things. Excuse me. But yeah, you got all these things that we really look forward to when it comes to that. So how well can they help Ja? How will the defense look? How would the offense look? Guys moving off the ball. I know. Jalen Wells has even said he might try to be on the ball a little more. I wouldn't be opposed to that. He has the possibility, and we saw him working on it. So if the team is open to giving Jalen Wells more opportunities to take the ball in himself, then I'm not opposed to it. Just got to know the right time and make the right play. Really, to me, that's all that's it. So when it comes to preseason, those are a couple things I'm looking out for because Detroit is a young team that's been on the come up and they're making noise. So you definitely got to see how you compete against a team like that, especially with how the Grizzlies fared against teams last year that were above 500. So that's all I'm saying. I'm looking out for. Like I said, really, really ready for Monday, if I'm being honest. I'm ready for Monday. First taste of basketball. Can't wait to see it, and I'm going to be there, so can't wait to watch it. But that's going to be a wrap for this edition of Grizzlies Daily. That's really all I got for right now. The team is in training camp in Nashville. If we get any important updates regarding the training camp, I'll definitely bring them to y'all. But for right now, that's really all I got. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications so you get notified when the next video comes out. And that's for this edition. I'll be signing off, and I'll see y'all in the next one.